It showed up with this huge tidal wave of hype, right? It was supposed to be the next big thing in social media. But then, just 6 months after it launched, poof, it was gone. An AI-powered social network from one of the biggest names in tech just vanished. So, let's get into it. What exactly killed the Sora app? It all became real on March 24th, 2026. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, they posted this message. And just like that, they were pulling the plug on their big TikTok-like experiment. They didn't really give a specific reason, just this simple kind of sudden goodbye that left everyone asking, wait, what just happened? What went so wrong so fast?
And that right there is the big question we're digging into today. Was it one single thing that did it in? Or was this more like a death by 1,000 cuts? We're going to run a full-on autopsy, looking for all the clues that led to this app's incredibly quick downfall. Okay, first let's set the scene. You have to understand Sora was pitched as an AI-first version of TikTok. It had that same vertical video feed we all know, but with this totally revolutionary twist. Every single video on the platform was generated by artificial intelligence. The app's killer feature, the thing that got everyone talking, was called cameos. You could scan your face and create this scarily realistic deepfake of yourself. And then, you and anyone else could drop that deepfake into any video you wanted. Now, they did get sued by the other cameo and had to change the name to characters, but the main idea was the same. An app built to make deepfakes easy, fun, and shareable. So our first major clue in this whole investigation is actually pretty simple. People just stopped showing up. When the app launched, it was all anyone could talk about. People were desperate for an invite. The hype was huge. But it turns out a social network where everything is AI generated, maybe it just didn't have the staying power. Just look at this number. At its peak back in November, Sora was downloaded over 3.3 million times. I mean, the interest was absolutely there. For a minute, it really looked like OpenAI had a monster hit on their hands. It seemed unstoppable. But then, fast forward just a few months to February, and downloads had absolutely cratered, down to just over 1.1 million. That is a staggering drop-off. It just goes to show that the initial curiosity, that shiny new object syndrome, it didn't turn into a loyal user base. The novelty wore off, and it wore off fast. And this really puts the problem into perspective for OpenAI. I mean, sure, 1.1 million downloads sounds like a decent number, but it's a tiny, tiny drop in the ocean compared to their main product, ChatGPT, which has 900 million weekly active users. Sora wasn't just shrinking. For a company that big, it was basically irrelevant to the bottom line. All right, let's move on to our next clue because this is where things get messy. So you have a platform designed to make deepfakes super easy. What kind of stuff do you think people started making? Well, in a twist that surprised literally no one, it got weird as hell. Yeah, the app quickly became what one reporter called an under-moderated minefield. And one of the most popular things to make? Really bizarre deepfakes of OpenAI's own CEO Sam Altman. Get this, there was a realistic clone of him walking through a slaughterhouse asking, "Are my piggies enjoying their slop?" Yeah, that was a thing. And even though OpenAI had rules against making videos of public figures, users found ways around them almost immediately. This led to deepfakes of beloved deceased icons like Martin Luther King Jr. and Robin Williams. It got so bad, their families had to come out and publicly ask people to please stop. It was a total PR nightmare. So after users had their fun with creepy CEO videos, they pivoted. They started making videos with famous copyrighted characters doing, well, let's just say out-of-character things. Mario's smoking weed, Pikachu doing ASMR. This was basically sending a written invitation for a ton of legal trouble. And that legal trouble leads us to our third and honestly our most surprising clue. Everyone was sitting back, waiting for the lawsuits to start piling up, especially from a company like Disney, which is famous for protecting its characters. But that's not what happened at all. This was a total shocker. Instead of suing OpenAI into the ground, the super litigious Disney did the exact opposite. They announced a $1 billion investment and a licensing deal to bring characters from Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars officially to the Sora app. It seriously looked like a landmark moment for AI. But here's the kicker. It was a landmark moment that never actually happened. When the Sora app was shut down, that entire billion-dollar partnership just evaporated. Turns out, no money had ever actually changed hands. The whole deal fell apart. It was like a ghost partnership for a ghost of an app.
Okay, so we've looked at the evidence. We've got users leaving in droves, a complete content moderation crisis, and a blockbuster deal that just vanished into thin air. Let's put it all together now and deliver the final verdict on what really killed Sora. When you get right down to it, Sora died from a mix of things. The user base wasn't growing. The app only ever made about $2.1 million from in-app purchases in its entire lifetime. And when you weigh that tiny amount of money against the massive potential for legal and ethical problems, well, for OpenAI, it just wasn't worth keeping alive. But, and this is probably the most important part of this whole story, while the social app is dead and buried, the technology that powered it is still very, very much alive. That powerful Sora 2 video generation model, it's still available. It's just tucked away behind the ChatGPT paywall for subscribers.
And that leaves us with one last kind of nagging question. The experiment of an AI-only social network, it failed, at least for now. But the tool to create these incredibly realistic deepfakes is now more accessible than ever. So yeah, the app is gone. But is the problem it created really gone with it?